Welcome everyone to another episode of the World's Greatest News and Reviews. Your boy Captain Mal here, and today I'm joined by...
Weapon 2.
That's the one called for. You're so violent. Captain Mal. Yes, and today we're going to bring you our official review for Hellboy. So, Hellboy is the 2019 reboot, not directed by Guillermo del Toro, not starring Ron Perlman. Totally new movie, totally new universe, complete reboot about everything. So, we're going to go over our initial thoughts, how we feel about the movie. We'll be spoiler free for the first portion of it. A little out of breath because you know the whole murder. After we'll give you a spoiler alert, and then we'll dive deep into it. So, I'll start real quick.
Okay.
If you watched our trailer reaction to the Hellboy trailer when it came out a while back, neither one of us were very positive on it. Both of us felt like it didn't look like it was going to be good. So I went into this movie with very low expectations, and I was actually really surprised. Because it was worse than I thought it would be. This movie was fucking garbage. Total and utter garbage. It failed across the board. Like if you make a checklist about a movie that has things that has to happen in it for it to be good, none of those things happened. The writing was terrible and laughably bad. The acting was atrocious. None of the characters had chemistry together. The plot was stupid and convoluted and had a bunch of subplots that went nowhere and did nothing. It was meaningless. It was a suck of my time. It was 2 hours of my life I'll never get back. The CGI was the most embarrassingly bad CGI I have ever seen in a movie. Anywhere near recent. The t-shirt I'm wearing is of a movie that came out 26 years ago, and it looks better today than a movie that came out 2 days ago. If you watched our Shazam review, you'll know that I was a little bit hard on that movie CGI. I really ripped into it thinking it looked bad. This movie CGI makes Shazam look like Avatar. Everything about this movie sucked. It was not good at all. So those are kind of what I thought about it. Weapon 2, am I completely off base here?
So did you ever read the comic books? Did you ever read Hellboy comic books?
Never read Hellboy. Maybe that's the problem. Never read Hellboy comic books.
So I got into Hellboy comics because they started probably about '94, but I was Mike Mignola was writer and creator, and I liked them because they're Dark Horse comic books. Got pitched to DC one time. They didn't like it because the word hell was involved, but I liked it because I like things that are a little bit different, kind of original ideas. So I really glommed onto it because at that time it was kind of really, there weren't a lot of
it was different.
Real independent comic books. So I really liked it, and that's why I liked it. Liked everything about it. I liked the first 2 movies, and I agree that this movie right here. I'll tell you what I felt when I was watching this movie. Number one, I think the reason they did this whole thing was because the first 2 movies only made like what $100 million one, and then the second one made like 160.
Too much.
But here's the deal.
This movie's bombing, by the way.
That's because this is kind of a niche. This thing is kind of a niche. It's not like one of these mainstream Marvel or DC things. So I think they thought that they had to reboot this whole thing. What they did was they took something that was really cool, and I feel like it was building a following into a 3rd movie if they kept going with the track they did, and they just trashed it.
Right.
Because what I felt like when I was watching this movie, I honestly felt like this. I don't want to go into what made me feel this because we're going to not do spoilers right now, but there were times where I felt like I was watching, who is that? And the Holy Grail, Monty Python.
Monty Python.
I felt like I was watching Monty Python and the Holy Grail at times. I felt like I was watching The Tick, which is a complete joke. You know, it's all about laughs and stuff. And I felt like there were varying degrees. Yeah. The CGI was not consistent. No. There were times where it was okay.
Passable.
Okay. Yeah, especially around, that pig thing. He looks
okay.
There was some lighting and some of the way they made it look wet and stuff like that was kind of okay. There were times with those giants and the giant demons where I felt like I was watching that old movie, Sinbad and the 7 Voyages, or Clash of the Titans with that stop motion
Yeah.
stuff. It was so bad. It
Yeah.
made me feel like I was watching that
Yeah.
sometimes. It was horrible.
Yeah. So to comment on what you were saying, yeah, so the old movies, I've never read the Hellboy comic book, but I liked the first movie. The second one I didn't think was as good, but it's watchable. It's a fucking masterpiece compared to this thing.
Yeah.
And anybody that I've talked to about this movie is like, why aren't they just making Hellboy 3? Like, nobody understands why there's a reboot, because it does have like a cult following right now, those movies do. But you're right, so the plot, I feel like this movie was written by 8 different people who've never met each other, never been in the same room together, and just wrote different parts of it, mailed it in, and then they just mashed it all and just shot it everywhere, because it never feels like a cohesive story. It is wildly all over the place tonally, because it's going for a very hard R, bloody, violent, action, fun, comedy type thing, but it misses the mark because it never hits any of those things correctly. Like, they're going hard R, and it lets you know that because it starts cursing, like just dropping F-bombs, like within the first couple minutes of dialogue, and it is way over the top violent. Now, violence is fine if it serves the character. Logan, finally being rated R, finally having a rated R Wolverine movie was such a good thing because it finally serviced the character. And while that movie is incredibly violent, it never feels gratuitous. It feels like a day in the life of this freaking person, right? This feels like it's over the top and violent just because it has an R rating, just because it can. Which wouldn't be bad if they used practical effects, but there's shots in this movie of people being ripped apart by demons, and the blood is so fake CGI, it just looks like a cartoon.
Yeah.
And now, good CGI doesn't make a good movie, but really, really bad, inconsistent CGI takes you right out of the experience. You're right, that giant fight, I'm sure on paper, like if you read the script, read awesome.
Yeah.
Hellboy throws down with 3 really big giants to cool rock music, and everybody has a great time. Except that it looks disgustingly bad, and the CGI is terrible. And back to the tone thing, there's scenes where they want to make a joke, right? So they start off with like really, really campy, really cheesy acting, and they throw a couple of one-liners out there that don't land. But then in the same scene, like 30 seconds later, they'll drop an exposition dump on you of story and have like what's supposed to be a very serious moment in a serious conversation with the actors overacting and not having any chemistry together. And so I'm supposed to digest this really serious moment about nonsense, and then they make a joke again, and just everything feels just inconsistent and like it doesn't mesh together. This movie, though, is really funny. Not on purpose. My theater was laughing at scenes in the movie that you shouldn't be laughing at, because you're right, some of the acting was ridiculous. Like, it also had a main villain, Mila Jovovich is in it. I don't know what fucking movie she was in, but she was in a totally different movie than everybody else. She, like, that opening scene with her, like, she delivers all of her lines like she's fucking Rita Repulsa from Power Rangers. Like, it is just ridiculous over the top cheese, and yeah, I can't get into too much more of those spoilers, but yeah, it's just, nothing worked for me.
The thing is, Mike Mignola he had started writing a script for Hellboy 3.
Yeah, I remember about that. Yeah.
And they started to adapt this into this whole new thing. And he said that Guillermo del Toro had when he was doing it, they had spoke together for years before they did those movies. He says the director of this movie talked to him like 2 times on the phone prior to this.
You can tell.
And the thing is, what was I going to say? I came into this movie after we had done these things wanting it to be good.
Yeah, I didn't want
I
it to
walked
suck.
in, I wanted it to be good. I started seeing how bad it was, and I was trying to convince myself that it was still good. No, it's going to be good. It's good. Is it really this bad? I was having a conversation with me, and it was really that bad.
There were parts, like the first 4 minutes, the opening scene, I was sitting there like, are you fucking kidding? Like, really? Like, no, they're fucking with me right now, right? I was literally like looking at my friend, this isn't the real movie. This movie's fucking with me. And then every single time the movie hits a low point, I'm like, well, can't get any worse. And then the movie's like, hold my beer, because I'm about to get worse. It is ridiculous.
This Hellboy franchise was the best it was going to be with those first 2 movies.
Yes.
They completely trashed it in this thing. And one of the things that I think is, I wish that if they were rebooting it, I wish they would have gone at this movie with a horror movie feel.
Dark.
That could have some comedy and stuff in there to lighten things up, but the feel I wanted to be sinister and scary, like a horror movie, And I think if you're going to do a reboot and you want to change things, that's the direction you needed to go.
I 1000% agree with you.
Yeah.
That's what I thought they were gonna do at first.
That's what I was hoping they were. That's what all the media said they thought they were
go
going to do.
completely the other direction. Because if you're gonna keep kind of like the horror comedy, action comedy tone, why the fuck just not make Hellboy 3 then? Right? Like there's no reason to reboot it then if it's gonna be the same shit.
This is the problem. I read one article and this made sense. Because they see all these other superhero movies making $1 billion, they thought that there was something wrong with their formula before, and they thought this was what's going to make this movie a $1 billion movie like the rest of these. The problem is they didn't understand the fan base. Yep. They didn't understand just what type of movie this was and what it was going to reach, and that it wasn't built to be a $1 billion movie. It was built to be this niche movie that kind of had a cult following. Yeah. And they ruined a perfectly good thing they had going.
Most comic book movies don't make $1 billion.
Right.
Like in fact, that's still a rarity. Like fun fact, no X-Men movie has gotten anywhere close to $1 billion. Even the good ones.
Right.
So like that doesn't happen all the time. But so I think you guys are getting a sense for our overall thoughts and feelings about this movie. It's not good. It's terrible. It's a huge disappointment. I did hear though that I haven't read the comics, but I heard that this one is a little bit more related to the source material in terms of adapting a bunch of different stories from the comics. But I heard that it doesn't just adapt one, it adapts like 5 of them and it mashes them all together and becomes a jumbled mess. That's what I heard.
Well, I can tell you, when we get past our spoiler announcement, I can tell you what some of the things they put in here. Because here's one thing they did good. The only thing they did good was they tried to introduce some characters and some elements into this that were actually straight from the comic book that were added. That's the only thing they did right. Was they tried to do some good things.
Oh, we've all seen comic book movies.
And completely failed.
We've all seen comic book movies based on comic book characters that we like that cram in way too many stories and it becomes a convoluted mess. That's not a recipe for a good movie. But I think you guys get the point. We didn't like the movie. So are we ready to go into spoilers?
Yeah.
All right, spoiler alerts. We're gonna dive deep now. So I have a question then. So the plot of this movie, part of the reason I feel like this is an issue is because I feel like David Harbour wouldn't have been bad as Hellboy, but he had nothing to fucking do. He had 2 arcs going on. One was just between him and his daddy issues, and the other one was, hey, I'm a monster, and you're sending me to kill other monsters, and I'm killing my family, right? Yeah. And it goes back and forth between the 2 of them. But the second one never gets a resolution because, like, the end it focuses on the daddy issue thing, right? Which is fine, but then like don't even include the other one. Like go one or the other, right? So it's like. That made no sense, but in the original movie, and in the comics I don't know, but in the original movie, correct me if I'm wrong, wasn't the reason his hand was that big, like freaking nasty glove thing?
The right hand of doom?
It opens like a gate to hell or something? Didn't it open something?
Yes, it plays a purpose, but no, it's this powerful fist that he's had ever since he was a little baby.
Right, no, I get
but
that.
it also
but
serves
it
a purpose.
opens something, right?
Yeah.
So none of that in this movie.
Yeah.
Like that.
I don't remember if that was an element in the comic books, but it was cool in that movie.
But that was cool in the movie, and I was expecting something similar. Doesn't do that in this movie at all. What it does is it shoehorns in a King Arthur bit, and I don't know if that's a thing from the comics.
That's true. It's from the comics.
Okay, so King Arthur apparently he's a descendant of King Arthur, and he pulls the sword out of the stone with his non-big hand, and that's how he starts unlocking hell. Which I'm sorry, maybe that works in the comics. It's fucking stupid in this movie. Like when King Arthur, the whole thing shows up. I'm like, are you kidding?
And they do joke around in the comic books that he's the true king of England now.
That's ridiculous. So that works in a comic book, not so much in this movie.
And it was true that his mom's a human witch, and that his dad is like Azil or something.
And that could have been cool, but it comes off as campy and cheesy and third rate, and none of it is done well. And so Mila Jovovich, this is one of the moments that got me, where she's like overacting or whatever. So it shows like her origin and her the beginning part of the movie is her being sacrificed or whatever the fuck in front of that tree on that big hill. Yeah. So then there's this whole thing, talking about parts of this movie going nowhere, where Hellboy's trying to find her, and I gotta locate her, I gotta figure out where she's going. So we have this entire scene where he goes to this alternate dimension and meets that really creepy witch chick that was like bent over backwards and coming at him that wanted his eye and stuff. That could have been done okay, and that could have been creepy, but again, contextually, you didn't know what it was trying to do, because like he's having this really witty dialogue with her, and all of a sudden it's like, oh my god, you meet kids. I'm never gonna mention that again. Like there's no real reason for him to attack her, and the whole, this is like a 10-minute scene, right? The whole point of this was him to get information out of her of where freaking Mila Jovovich was, and she's like, oh yeah,
the Blood Queen.
She's at the Blood Queen. The Blood Queen. And so this chick's just like, the Blood Queen. You'll find her at that hill where that tree is. Yeah. And I was just like, are you fucking kidding me? That's the first place you look! That's literally the first place you look! Like, you had to go do this, and that's the other thing. Exposition dumps, this movie had no idea how to deliver information. Like, every time it tried to, like, give you an exposition dump, it felt forced and stupid. And that opening scene with him and the freaking vampire in the wrestling ring, I was watching that and I was literally like, is this for real? Is this really happening? Like, I couldn't believe, like, it was ridiculous. Like, none of this movie...
There was so much bad about this. I mean, I'm going to tell you the times where it got so silly I could barely stand. So he goes to find the giant killers, right?
Yeah.
And he goes to Secret Society of Giant Killers. Number one, the biggest thing that bugged me about this was Professor Broom, his father, okay, never aged. He was one of these guys who stayed the same age.
And they never explained that.
Oh my God, he doesn't look anything. He was young when he found Hellboy, when the Nazis and whoever his name was, Gorgy Rasputin or whatever, the occultists were trying to get a demon for a weapon, and he was young then, and then he grew old with them. Okay, because it's been a long time, and that bothered me a lot. So they go to this place where these weird Society of Giant Killers, when they start dressing up, they got spears and like old English costumes and little cheesy masks. And they get on these horses and they're riding in horseback. They're all trotting along. Oh, and their leader puts on like this deer head hat. It has a deer head on it. And I was watching them ride along the hillside, and I said, "This is just like Monty Python and the Holy Grail." I said the only thing that would make it more is if they didn't have horses and they were just going like this. It was that stupid.
Well,
and it was just
well,
dumb.
it was so dumb. And then so Hellboy even makes it like, why? Hellboy even makes a joke like, why are we using cars and like modern technology? And it's like, we go to the old ways. Except the spears that we have are totally electric spears that tase you.
Yeah.
And let's point out that these professional giant hunters, they take out Hellboy. Spoiler: they betray him, and they take him out really quick. But then the three giants murder the fuck out of all of them.
This is their specialty, killing giants, right?
And then
they just kill them all.
Hellboy, who's taken out by a couple posers with electric spears,
he kills all three
the
giants.
like easily. And you're like, what the fuck am I watching?
And then, you know, I already told you about what I thought about the CGI reminded me of those old stupid movies.
Yeah.
But then, what's his name? What's the lobster? What's the lobster's guy's name? Anyways,
Fish guy.
Yeah, the lobster claw guy or whatever.
Yeah.
I can't remember his name. But anyways, when he showed up, it was like I was watching the tech. It was just so silly. It was the silliest thing.
And all like the character designs all looks dumb. Like the pig, the henchman for the Blood Queen. He was the coolest. He was the only bad guy with an arc. Really, he was like, and his arc's the dumbest fucking thing. Like it has a flashback. We get a flashback for this about him, like kidnapping a baby and like replacing the baby, and like Hellboy scares him away, and now he has this blood vendetta against Hellboy for this, and it goes completely fucking nowhere. And that was the only arc that we get in the entire movie, really. Yeah. And so the other thing, talking about the effects looking bad and like the actors not like being able to act. So the chick in this movie, the medium, the one who talked to ghosts or whatever, she does this thing where she touches somebody's body, she can then project their spirit, and you can talk to them, which is cool in theory, except for how they do it. How do they do it?
It makes it look like all of her intestines have grown to disgusting proportions, turn themselves inside out, come out of her mouth about 20 feet, and then at the top of them is a weird looking body with the person's head on it talking to them.
A dude on the internet, I was watching a review, actually said this really well. You know that this weird pulsating, disgusting tube? It looked like the attachment to the back of the Queen Alien in Aliens when she was giving birth. And so so then all of a sudden you have it like finish the top half of that person's body, and they look all nasty and gross. But the problem is, this is the movie's resolution to Hellboy not turning evil, is because Hellboy has Excalibur and he's about to just say fuck it and go like Armageddon on the world, but then the chick touches his dad, who's dead, and so he comes out like that, and he has this heartwarming speech to his son, to Hellboy, about how you're good and this and that. But the problem is, every time it would zoom in on him, and you're supposed to be like emoting and feeling these
like fucking gross as hell.
He looks like this creepy, disgusting fucking thing, and I'm just like...
He looks like somebody's bowels. It's disgusting.
Yeah, it didn't work.
No, so it was bad.
I was looking forward to doing this review because I had a lot of shit to say about things in this movie that didn't work and that were bad, and I'm forgetting a lot of them. And I'm going to rewatch this and be like, damn, I forgot to say this, I forgot to say that. Just know I had a lot of things to say. None of them were good. Literally nothing was good. This is one of the worst movies I've seen in a long time. This movie feels like it should have been an early 2000s comic book movie because it didn't know what the fuck it was doing.
And you know what I blame? I don't blame the actors. I blame the director. I blame the script. I blame the studio. What is it, Lionsgate that makes this?
Yeah,
Who makes this? I blame all of them. I think the actors, if they had a good script and a good director, and the movie was going the right way, could have made a great movie.
I feel like David Harbour could have been a good Hellboy, but he had nothing to do. And the other thing is, like, this movie goes to so many different locations and so many different places. It doesn't know how to transition half the time. So literally at one point, I'm not making this up, they're just like, alright, well, Hellboy's gonna take a nap and wake up in a completely different location.
Yeah.
That happens. Like,
Yeah.
No, he's like, I'm tired.
If we try to find grasp at things that might have been good, they had some kind of cool locations and sets. It's just the movie sucks.
My problem is, it's a 2-hour movie that feels like a 6-hour movie. I checked my watch at about a half hour in and realized we were only a half hour in, and then like I was that asshole. I like look up to how long the movie is, and I was like, fuck me. Like, I was not only bored, I was like in physical pain having to watch this.
Well, and I'm going to say another thing. From the way you sent me the text saying that you were excited to talk about this, I kind of thought maybe he liked it. So when I went in addition to me wanting to like it and trying to convince myself to like it, I kind of thought, well, maybe Vic liked this. It was so bad. With all of that going on, I still couldn't think it was
I did that, so we didn't watch it together, and we didn't talk about it at all, so we could do this review, and I did that on purpose. I wanted to fuck with you. I'm excited to talk about it. I was excited, that wasn't a lie. I was excited to be mean to it. Now again, I don't want any comic book movies to suck. I would have loved it if I was surprised that this was good, but I wasn't. No. Save your money. Don't go to theaters to watch this. Don't support it. Don't tell them they did something good by giving them money. When I went with my friend, later that night, he shot me a text. He's like, you owe me $13.50 and 2 hours of my life for making me go watch that with you.
Did you make him?
No, I offered.
Oh, there you go. There you go. He's an adult.
So yeah, this movie sucks. Don't go watch it. Watch it for free on Netflix if you want 2 hours of your life you'll never get back.
Right.
Any closing thoughts? Because I could bitch about this for a while. So.
No, it's just... I am bummed they took something that was good, that I felt was good. I really liked the first 2 movies. Yeah. I thought they were good movies as far as Hellboy is, and they just ruined it for some type of weird business.
If you're a fan of Hellboy, like if you're a fan of the comics and or the previous movies, and you saw this, tell us what you thought. Like, are we way off base? Do we not understand Hellboy? Like,
everything looked like bad cosplay. Yeah.
I want to know what Hellboy fans think of this, because I didn't like it at all. Yeah. So, yeah. Oh, by the way, the original Hellboy is on Netflix. Watch that instead. Yeah. So, thank you for joining us on this episode of the world's greatest news and reviews. If you've enjoyed this video, be sure to like and subscribe.
Peace!